Made it to the end of the show. Hope we haven't overstayed our welcome. But we're gonna talk about the endings of games before they're forgotten. On Spoiled Rotten.
Greetings, Joystiq Podcast listeners. We just got Chris and Lottie here. Justin fled, basically, when he knew what we were talking about. But he's going to miss the great discussion that we're going to have about Castlevania, Lords of Shadow. I know the people who played the game and beat it have been waiting for this Spoiled Rotten for a long time. If you didn't play the game, you should. If you're never going to, and you have to really promise now. Don't just say it, but promise you're never going to play it. Okay, now you can listen. Yeah, it's got, wow, how about that? One hell of an ending, huh?
I detected a hint of wife farming, actually.
You know what? I got a very distinct whiff. Right at the end of the game. It wasn't there the whole time, but right at the end, man, a really strong whiff of wife farming going on. And it was strange because I felt like the reboot, one of the things that they had done was reset the ridiculous mythology of the series, right? Grounded it in a type of, it was very fairy tale-y. You don't quite know where you are.
Right, it was simple to a degree. I mean, very straightforward.
But in a fairy tale-y way, you're in some kind of nameless European country, very Germanic, I would argue. Sort of going through the mountains and going to his castles, etc., with a sort of backdrop of the Crusades, but all vague, all very vague, and in a nice way. And then the ending happened.
Yeah, and before that, I think they had some neat little touches on the characters. Like there was that priest who kind of let the entire community die so that he could keep himself safe. That was interesting, I thought.
And it also gave you your holy water. Right.
And then you have that moment where Gabriel murders the blonde girl.
Yeah, the mute.
And it's kind of shocking because you don't know why, and it's kind of a very unique twist because he's forced to fight her guardian, and it turns out that he needs a part of a guardian. So it's kind of you sense that there's a hidden force at work there. But then it kind of pulls something that Final Fantasy VIII did very poorly as well. The last-minute villain substitution.
So the whole time, you think you're fighting these Lords of Shadow, and you're about to fight the last one. And it turns out that he's, spoiler alert, gasp, your good friend Zubaz. Whatever his name is.
Zobek.
Do you remember Zubaz were those weird pants people used to wear in the 80s? They had like pajama pants.
Oh, no.
They had like sports team prints on them, like zebra prints. Got your Zubaz. So Zobek is the bad guy. And,
what? But just any sense.
And he has this ridiculous speech where his face doesn't move because he has like this mask on.
Right, like they felt that they were. So he puts on a mask, right? So now he's evil. This is how you know. He puts on a mask.
To be fair to him, it's an awfully sinister mask. I mean,
that's true. And it's very efficient because nobody has to animate the lips.
Yeah, so that's nice.
Unfortunately, he gives speeches. He becomes a bad pantomime artist, basically.
He becomes the speech is even the speech. I mean, all of his dialogue was pretty ridiculous the whole time.
I felt that Patrick Stewart was punking the designers at that point. He's like, "Well, I'm going to go full English play on you guys."
Yes, but little did you know. I wish I had the audio of it because it was so goofy. So the whole time this is happening, I'm like, okay, this is silly. This is just the beginning, people, of the dumb parts.
So he betrays you. Like he's tricked you into killing the other lords so that he can get their power. Yada yada yada.
And he wants that mask.
Right. By the way, anytime that you are being manipulated by someone to do something that they want, they send you into. And this is where I got the wife arm with, because they had the same plot in Bionic Commando where someone is playing you, like you have to go find the thing, but they really need it for themselves. Every time I see a game over screen, every time that happens, it means that their plan has failed, and it was a terrible plan. Like, you can't have your gods that you have control over killing me. That's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to tell them, okay, I've sent this guy, he's going to get this chalice, but he's actually getting it for me. So, this is a big trick. Don't actually kill him. Go easy on him.
So...
Never makes sense.
Yeah.
It never does.
But that's a lot of organization, too, right? What is that, an email thread, maybe? So, it turns out he's really the bad guy, but... what's this? There's another bigger bad guy. And who's bigger than the Lords of Shadow? I know one guy. Evil Jesus.
That is exactly who I thought it was when I saw that. I was like, why is Jesus evil in this game?
It's actually not Jesus, despite the naked body and long hair.
And he says he's going to kill his father.
Yeah, so it turns out it is our good buddy, Satan.
Could they have at least gone with Lucifer? It sounds so much more elegant.
Nope, just Satan. And Satan is, in fact, the final boss of the game.
No foreshadowing what's all. Just
nothing.
Suddenly a voiceover comes on. And it's not bad acting. Like, that guy sounds like he cost a lot of money. Like, he has a very distinct voice. But it's like you can't just throw a villain in at the last minute and expect that to work. It's like, who's this guy? Why am I fighting him? Why is he evil? Silly.
But you fight him indeed, and you fight Satan. He's not very tough either. He wasn't the hardest boss in the game. For a game that was I think pretty damn challenging, he was not a very challenging final boss. There's a lot of the bosses that I died on a couple times, but I beat him I think the first time with little to no problem. So he messes Zobek up, you fight him, you defeat him, and he's all like, well, you can't defeat me.
He burns Zobek to death. Like, it is very clear that Zobek is burnt to death.
Oh, yeah, he's
established that.
He's burnt like a burnt thing.
Also, it's a good job setting Gabriel on fire like that, because that would have probably saved you a lot of trouble.
Yeah, instead you attacked me, and I whipped you for about 12 minutes straight, and then you died. You could have just tried the fire, but whatever. So we fight, kill him, get the mask, and here's where, like, parts of the story, especially with the mask, start to not make sense. But his wife that he killed can't use it for whatever reason. I never quite... I'm sure people
She kind of tricks him out of it, though. She takes it and disappears.
And she goes back up to heaven. She's been stuck in purgatory this whole time for whatever. I guess if you get murdered by your husband, you're in purgatory. I don't really know.
Well, no, like Zobek cast a spell that sealed off.
Oh, that sealed off heaven.
So like that's why she
was stuck there.
She could contact him. Yeah.
So she goes up to heaven now and is very happy and floats up there. Gabriel is stuck on Earth.
And he's immortal now because she brought him back to life because he got killed by Zobek. That part I think is interesting.
So
up to a certain point,
you're back. So now you're Gabriel. You're on Earth. You're immortal, and that's kind of a curse, right? You just want to be with your loved one who's in heaven, but you can't because you're immortal.
And maybe that's something that you would like to explore in other games or something. Like it seems like a very long form story.
Yeah, so...
Except flash forward, bam, you're Dracula.
And it's not just flash forward. It's, you're in a kind of nameless, timeless, European, Germanic setting. Maybe the Crusades, maybe earlier, maybe later, you don't really know. Boom, 21st century, Japan maybe? In the future, New York. There's Japanese, or at least Asian signs somewhere.
Maybe it's Hong Kong.
And you're in like a big castle, and Zobek is there. Wait, Zobek? Didn't he get burned to death?
The guy who we firmly established burnt to death because Satan killed him.
Satan, who I think has a lot of clout when it comes to things like killing people.
Apparently not.
Zobek is going through this castle. He's walking up it, and he's going.
That actually was, I think that scene, despite the narrative content of it, I think
he was well done.
The way they revealed it was very clever.
Yeah. So he goes up and opens this secret door and gets in there, and it's obviously Dracula on a like a big throne, and he's all withered. He's all like pale and white and skinny and withered away, and he calls him Gabriel, and I think he says, like, never call me that. You know, Dracul. So he says something like that, and he says, you know, they're going to be coming, whatever. Next thing you know, he flies out the giant stained glass window, lands on the street many stories below in a thud, and it's full of people and cars and neon lights.
Right, and it turns out the cathedral is in a city, which is, you know, it's a full reveal. But they do two things really wrong, though, and this is I think everyone, like, I think we were talking about this during TGS. We were saying, well, you're going to play this game and you're going to become Dracula. That's going to be the plot twist.
Yep.
And it makes sense because they're trying to reboot it and they're trying to keep certain elements, and you need Dracula in a Castlevania game. So, I mean, that would be kind of a good spin on a tragic tale. And they do that, but they do that in the last 10 minutes of the game, and not even in the game, but in the epilogue.
It's just an epilogue.
Why would you not just, like, if you wanted to put this in your story, then explore that throughout the whole game. Like, show Gabriel, you know, going on this path. And they kind of do that, but then they just stop, and then let's just cram this cool twist into the last 5 minutes.
And it's very much, what a twist. I mean, it's very much a gotcha moment. They don't foreshadow it, really. They don't hint a lot of stuff. Some of it doesn't even make sense. Like, where does Zobek come from? And I know that they're going to be, oh, well, we'll answer it all in the sequel, wink. And it's like, no, how about you just, no.
Or just don't even do that and do it in the next game. Or like, but you need time to explore this story. Like, I think the content, the idea is fine, but the way that
the presentation was clumsy
terrible.
And stupid,
and they blew it.
Yeah, I would agree. And it was in the presentation was like, it was totally, even with the Satan part, they won't see this coming. And it's like, that's not hard to do. I can make a story, ready? You're watching Star Wars, and it's just a normal Star Wars, and at the end, it turns into a musical about 3 Irish